Thank you for joining us for this December 6th, Wednesday edition of Wisecrack Live. We have some guests in store and a lot of drama to talk about today, so Mike will be with us in just a moment. Woke Wednesdays with Woke Crack Woke. Welcome to a Watch at Work Wednesdays edition of Wisecrack Live.
Hey, what's up, friends, family, neighbors that you hate, neighbors that when you were a kid, you would sometimes go up to their window and think that you heard them having sex and you weren't sure what that meant. So you went in the house and you got a flashlight and you flashed the flashlight in the windows of your neighbors while they're having sex. What's up, male men, male women, male people? What's up, the dogs that chase the male people? What's up, priests, rabbis, reverends, religious leaders of all sorts, UN General Council, people that exist mostly on the internet but are afraid of the real world, those who love a sandwich but hate to make it. Welcome to Wisecrack Live. It's December 6th. We're here. Oh my God, Andrew Willems already gifted 20 memberships, guys. This is fucking crazy. Are you nuts? Are you nuts? What a thing to do. What a thing to do right off the bat. What a way to sort of set the tone to get the energy going, guys. That's crazy.
Just made a lot of crackheads.
Yeah, whoa. Henry, that's a pretty inappropriate way to put it. I think you've offended some folks already. Yeah, my framing seems okay. Every day I got a different chair today, friends, because I wanted to be cozy for this. I wanted to be so cozy. I might also snack on the stream today, so get ready. But a few things. Let's talk about what we have coming down the pike, or the pipe, or whatever you want to call it. Big week on YouTube. Many of you probably have seen the HBomberguy video, a bunch of other videos. I'll remember all the names of them in a second. About how a lot of people that make things on this website are liars and cowards and thieves and plagiarists. On this moment brought to you by Concerta. So we're going to talk about that, and later we're going to have Wisecrack's own Michael Luxembourg, aka Lux, aka Austin's Most Wanted, on to share some thoughts about that. And then sooner than that, we're gonna have one of my favorite comedians, writers, and posters, Skyler Higley, come on. So I'm very, very excited about that. Um, but first, I'm gonna see if I can get my laptop raised up, guys, so I can sort of have a better angle when I look at you. Let's see if this fucks everything up. Let's see. It's not gonna work, guys. It's not gonna work. I'm trying and I'm failing. So so before we get into all that normal stuff, thanks for being here. It's Wisecrack Live. Like the stream, it helps us. If you don't like the stream, no one watches it. If no one watches it, Henry and I are out of jobs. And let's be honest, guys, the digital media landscape isn't pretty. Things aren't going well. There was a bunch of layoffs this week. And in case you're from the company and you think I'm speaking on company information, I'm talking about the layoffs at Spotify, Condé Nast, things of that nature. I have no idea about what's happening at the corporation I currently work for. No, nor would I speak on it because it's a publicly traded corporation on the Canadian stock market. I can't say it. A. Malloy in the chat pointed out the beard looks longer. I really wanted to trim it because it's looking a little bit feral, but I didn't really have time. And then I thought maybe I'll just let it go to the end of the year so that all the videos we do this year, I look increasingly unhinged. Daniel's here. Daniel's too nice. And I think Daniel Santiago Hurtado is going to turn on us one day, and it's going to suck when he turns on us because he's so nice. But until then, we're really going to enjoy it. So let's start with some comments. This is the part of the show where we read comments that people left on the videos. The most recent video was on ADHD. Guys, it was sponsored by BetterHelp. How funny is that? I've said too much. But let's look at some comments and we'll get into it. Phonopticon says, we love an unhinged Burns, then you came to the right place. The first comment we got here, I'm going to mess with this chair. I got a new chair. Let's see, maybe go down a little bit. There we go. It says, I very much appreciate seeing a YouTuber with a large subscriber following with that be so candid and honest about struggling with depression. You know what? I've got that depression. I'm just really inspired by the Zach Fox freestyle he did with Kenny Beats years ago, I think on his Twitch stream, where he talks about having depression and talks about Betty White and says free Palestine, stuff like that. So, but yeah, might as well, right? Might as well be open about stuff. It is weird sometimes to talk about mental health because there's probably a toxic masculine or just like old guy mindset that talking about mental health publicly means you're expressing weakness and your enemies might take advantage of it. But that's silly. What's up, Callie and Darren, Curtis and Keely and Lori and Daniel and Jeez Louise and everyone and Rubber Band. Jesus is the one. Yes, Rubber Band. Thank you for reminding me about the title of that really good Zach Fox thing. If you haven't watched that, go watch it. This is really good. Okay, next comment is from Victor Villardo. It says, hey, Michael, as an autistic adult, I'd appreciate it a lot if you can make a video about ableism in neoliberal society. Being an autistic person is not easy at all. It comes to so many prejudices from family to classmates that only aggravates my depression. Hope you can talk about autism in neoliberal society someday. Love your channel. Yeah, I mean, one of the points, right, in the ADHD video was that there's a certain level of, I guess you could call it, neurological or social or emotional function that is presupposed by neoliberalism as necessary for us to, produce and create value. So I don't know a lot about autism, but I imagine that being autistic or having autism also makes it really hard to kind of fit into that mold, because neoliberalism operates with a set of, I guess, presuppositions that humans are primarily efficient machines built to work. But we're people. We're weird. We're messed up. Dare Johnson, shout out mental illness. Absolutely. Rest in peace, Betty White. We can now say it for real. Let's see. Yeah, so Max Niall in the chat says, I dislike the idea that mental health should only be treated when it affects productivity and not just for making life suck. Absolutely. Absolutely. Something that I've mentioned this before, shout out mental illness and shout out good psychiatrist. My psychiatrist, who's good. I'm not going to say his name here, but if you're in Los Angeles and you need a good psychiatrist, DM me. Once I was talking to him about how I was only taking meds for some stuff on work days. He was kind of like, dog, you're also allowed to take meds that help you function in ways that just benefit your life and make you happier and help you work on your creative projects. And it was crazy to have to get permission for that. Vasco in the chat's asking about the squanch. Honestly, the real reason that we haven't had the squanch is because we are understaffed as it is. And then also, we watched the first couple episodes of the season and we're kind of just like, nah. So there you go. But maybe we'll talk about it at the end of this season. Yeah, next comment, I assume this is from last week's stream, says, I'm absolutely blown away by the level of good faith and tact that Michael's able to display when responding to live chats from obvious bad actors. I will lose my shit so goddamn fast. Well, I think early on in some of the days of streaming, I got angry or emotional in reacting to bad actors. But yeah, I think that's the vibe. If this is your first time at Wisecrack Live, thanks for being here. Like the stream, the move is if we get trolls in the chat. Now, if they say real dark stuff, we boot them. We friggin' boot them. But I don't know. We try to engage with questions and not alienate. And sometimes we've had experiences on the stream where someone starts trolling and then we all treat them like a human and then they act like a human. And part of my motive for that comes from the fact that in recent years, I've noticed if someone leaves a comment on a Wisecrack video that's like, this guy is a fucking idiot. Everything they said was wrong. Da 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 da. His dad should have pulled out. Yada yada. If I respond and I'm just like, hey, I get what you're saying, but here's another way to look at it. 9 times out of 10, they respond with like, oh my God, I didn't think you'd respond. Thanks so much. I think I was being a little hyperbolic before. I get what you're saying. Because it's just like, we're all humans. Guys, we're all humans. But shout out to Trolls World Tour. Next comment says, I feel so bad for the team at Wisecrack because they're going to have to watch that piece of shit movie referring to Lady Ballers, which we talked about last week. Some sick comments on that video. As soon as the stream VOD went live, all the comments were like, libs triggered much? It's just like, get a new thing. And later, we'll talk about this in a little bit. Henry, can you confirm that you have watched some of Lady Ballers?
Oh, I watched all of it.
Oh my God. Okay, so we're gonna check in on that later. So that was comments for this week. Comments is the section of things where we look at comments. So if I'm just checking one thing for you guys. Cool. If you weren't here last week, I just want to give you, context. We did talk about the Dailywire's movie, Lady Ballers, that came out. Also, I found out it was 2 hours long. Or isn't it like close to 2 hours, Henry?
It's an hour 50, yeah.
Hour 50, too long. Oh my God. But I want to wait till we get our first guest on to dive into this. But we're gonna have a guest in a second, y'all. You probably know who this person is if you're like on the internet and like funny stuff. But we'll have a guest in a bit. In the meantime, please like the stream. Our order of operations today, if you're just tuning in, our main topic is plagiarism on YouTube, the HBomberguy video. And I definitely have some thoughts on this because I do think, and I'm going to be introspective and self-critical here, I think that there is an argument to be made that, I don't know, I feel like some of the stuff that came up in those videos made me think of areas where I think I can do better at Wisecrack. The rest of the team's great, but I'm trash. Someone said, have you seen Napoleon? I did. I went and saw Napoleon over the weekend. It was a movie.
Yeah.
It was pretty long. But you know what? I got to see it at the Vista Theater in Los Angeles, my favorite movie theater. It's 100 years old. It's been closed for years, and Quentin Tarantino bought it during the pandemic and reopened it. So that was pretty fun. So there you go. Um, let's see. Did you? I'm just catching up with the chat, But someone said comedies are an hour and 30 minutes, and that's the correct answer. That is how long a comedy should be. Um, Matthew Rotera said that Napoleon was funny. Yeah, I actually did think Napoleon was kind of funny. There was definitely some
Yeah.
funny points to it. I did realize in watching Napoleon as well that I don't really know anything about like history, like the history of the world or, obviously like French history or anything. Cause there was stuff that was happening where I was just like, I don't know what this is. I don't know what's happening here. So there you go. I want to try to cram some more movies in soon so I can say that I saw all the movies before the end of the year. Um, let me just. Whoa, we're almost at. We're getting close to where it could be at 666. Um, sorry guys. Let me know. Maybe you. I don't know. Okay, it says Skylar's here, Henry, or he says he's here. Yeah, cool. I'm gonna send a different link to our buddy Skylar is gonna be here in a second. Let me just do a thing, guys. I'm just gonna do a thing. How do I do this? I'm clicking a thing. I'm copying link. I'm closing the thing. I'm gonna add a different link. I'm gonna do a thing. Okay, I sent him a link to go straight to this room because maybe that'll be easier. Um, Cool. So checking in with the chat again. We have a Lord of the Chat today. If you want to be a Lord of the Chat, which is a fun thing to do if you want to do it, you can give people memberships. It's a fun thing to do. It's communal. It's great. It's fun. And there's some other announcements.
We just blasted past 666.
Oh no, we did a 666. The mark of the beast is upon us. Listen, guys, this
Let's
Christmas
summon
season.
Skylar.
Yeah. Are you sick of Christ? Try Satan. Is the manger in front of your house getting played out? Put devil horns on baby Jesus. Do you feel like church isn't answering the questions that you have? Um, try Satan. Don't really, but it's fun to say it. We have 666 people here. We love it. Every time it happens, at least one person is kind of mad and annoyed um, at us for talking about Satan. And if that is you, I apologize. We don't mean to take it too seriously. It's just a fun way to comment on the fact that a good amount of people are here, and that means a lot to us. So let's see, Henry, are you in the chat? Okay, so can you bring Skylar in now? Okay, great. I'll just keep talking. Um, I'll just keep talking. That's what we do. So, um, we had some deaths this week. Speaking of 666, speaking of Satan, you might notice there's some 666s in the chat, and that's because people are members. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty fun. All hail woke crack. We're not going to dive into it on the stream this week, but speaking of the Harris hole, Johnny Harris video on Kissinger, pretty good, guys. Henry Kissinger died. Maybe we'll talk about more later, but speaking of 666, rest in hell to that guy. Um, but yeah, thanks for being here. Let's see. Catching up with Andrew Willems is co-lording. Yes, please lord alongside him. I'm loving all the emote action. It's very fun. Someone's asking about growing anti-Semitism on college campuses. I don't know enough to say anything. You know what I mean? I don't know enough about that to accurately say anything. I'm not really engaged with college campuses these days. I used to be on college campuses a lot because I used to work at them, but I'm not these days. So someone said I'm showing my Discord. What does that mean? Oh, maybe Henry is. Okay, cool. So again, guys, we're gonna get into yeah. Guys, we could get Raw Dome today. We're at 717. We're not far away. The bummer is I haven't rawed the dome in a bit. So Wow, guys, a guest is about to be upon us. The thing doesn't happen that much because, like I've said before, we're overworked and understaffed, and sometimes don't have time to get stuff like this going. Um, but I would say, like, I don't know, guys. I feel like there's some stuff we could maybe not get too into in the chat today. But there you go. XC Burr said, Michael, were you happy to not be featured on HBomberguy's video? Yes, but I don't. This is weird. I don't think that we slash I are considered. Maybe this is a weird thing to say. I feel like we're not really a part of like mainstream cool YouTube discourse, and I mean that in a way where I'm not trying to talk shit because I think those people are awesome. But in some of the videos that were made this week, people were talking about how like all the all the YouTubers talk to each other and do stuff and they all know of each other. But I don't know. I feel like we're just kind of off to the side of things. There was part of me when I saw the video, it was 4 hours where I was like, I hope that no one caught me slipping because I'm sure that we've made mistakes before, but I also know we're not outright plagiarist liars. So there you go. Someone said you guys are bigger than James Somerton. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, someone said you guys aren't part of BreadTube. Yeah, it's kind of weird. Like sometimes people will post links to our videos on the BreadTube subreddit, and there was like a BreadTube, and this is me admitting that sometimes I Google Wisecrack or myself. There was a discussion on BreadTube a few months ago about how we're going. Oh shoot. Let's see. We see a Skylar, but the Skylar is frozen.
Hear me?
Yeah, we
Great.
we hear a Skylar.
Do I appear frozen on the screen like I do for my screen, or is it actually?
It's freezing on and off.
Oh, that's cool. That's great. I've appropriated one of our edit bays, so I don't know why, why I'm freezing.
Well, hopefully it stops, but you're frozen in a position right now where your face looks pretty cool. So
Okay,
at least
good.
that's good. Yeah.
As long as I look
Um
cool.
yeah. Well let's I guess we'll just start talking and hopefully it goes up. Skylar, it's cool to talk to you. This is the first time we've ever spoken, not with text on Twitter and stuff like that, but it's really exciting to have you here because I very much like everything you say and do on the internet. I've never seen your stand up in person. I've seen it in video clips before, and it's very good. Uh, so it's just great to have you on here. And truly, it made me really excited the first time you acknowledged or said that you like watched Wisecrack videos. I thought that was the coolest shit ever. So
Oh, it's yeah.
really, really made my day.
I watch every video, unless I'm in like too bad of a mood, and then I can't handle it. But if I wake up in the morning and like have my coffee and am feeling like relatively okay about the world, like I never feel that good about the world or
Yeah,
anything,
it's
but
hard to.
yeah, then I watch a video. Oh, is my camera off? What happened?
You're from maybe go off and on and see if it comes on again.
There you go.
Yeah, awesome guys. So yeah. So, and for anyone, I should have said this more properly, but guys, Skyler Higley's here. Skyler, I don't want to get all this wrong. You're a stand-up writer based in Chicago currently, and you're working full time at the Onion, right?
Yes, that is true. I live
Amazing.
staff writer. I Some of the headlines that you see from the Onion, I'm responsible for those. I like
I
to say,
love.
if you like it, then I wrote it, and if you don't, then I didn't.
I do like to try to predict some of them. I see, and I think to myself that it's probably one of yours. But like you kind of said, I don't want to ask because I like the idea that the ones I like the best, I'm just like, oh, that has to be a Skylar one right there. Has to
Yeah,
be.
I'll get a lot of people who are like my friends that will see a headline they like and will think it's so funny, and over the course of time, they'll send me like, "Oh, haha, this one was so great. Did you write this one?" And I'm like, "No, I didn't. That was not one that I wrote." And I'm like, "Just stop trying to guess." Like, I have to keep telling my friends, like, "Stop trying to guess which one it is because, sometimes if you're maybe know my sense of humor, you can guess or just see what I actually retweet on Twitter, then you'll know." But like, there's a fair amount of people who work here. We have like uh 6 other writers now, so yeah.
Okay. That's honestly smaller than I thought it would be. So a lot of people in the chat are already just like, "Oh my god, the Onion's the best. We love the Onion. You're the best." How long have you been working at the Onion for?
I started my Onion Fellowship
Mm-hmm.
in 2020. January of 2020 was when I first started. Not a great time to start doing jokes about the news.
Yeah,
Um,
that's tough. That's real tough.
yeah, and the fellowship is essentially you're like treated as a full-time staff writer, but you don't get like that amount of money. So that was another stressful part about it when
Mm-hmm.
COVID hit and there were the protests and everything. That was not super fun. And then after that, I left to write for Conan. And
Mm-hmm.
then after 6 months into that job, he was like, "I'm gonna end the show," and I'm like,
Well,
"Cool, end it forever." I just got this dream job, but whatever. Then after that, I came back, and now I'm a staff writer. And
well,
my
I
camera.
imagine that had to be pretty intense to get the Conan thing and then
Mhm.
have that end so quickly. Yeah, that sounds rough and
Didn't
emotionally
feel real because
weird.
it
Yeah.
was June of 2020, and so that
Oh,
whole
so you
year.
were remote. You didn't have to like move out or anything?
No, we only did like 2 weeks of live shows at the very end of the run, but it was not like yeah, it was it the whole time. I would joke with Conan like my whole life I've like only seen you on a screen, and now I'm still only seeing you on a screen, so I really don't know if you're real.
Also, this is a new level for us just achieved. We have someone on the stream who just said, and it was real. "Oh, I used to joke with Conan." That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Um, that's great. And Conan, one of the people who, in terms of like shelf life in comedy, if we think about when Conan's career started till now, still looking pretty good. Not a
Yep.
lot of, old pale white men of his generation have lasted this long without either backsliding into a weird sort of like reactionary vibes or
Mhm.
it coming out that they're just the worst.
No, and he's like really cool. Like just kind of the person that he projects that he is basically the same person that he is in my experience.
That's
So that's
awesome.
cool to know because you hear about other late night hosts that are like that person is secretly evil, but like Conan's just kind of all there. And then like if especially if you listen to podcasts, like yeah, he is mean sometimes, but like you like it, it's funny, you know. Um,
Yeah.
that was really a very crazy like thing to have even done. And I think that to your point, his shelf life in comedy, I think there's like now a huge space in late night that is like not being occupied by real comedy that he used to do, where it's like
Mhm.
everything's either like hyper political or just like celebrity interviews, and there's no real like absurd fun space, and so nobody watches that kind of TV anymore, in my
Yeah.
mind.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
I'm
Um,
sorry to all the wisecrackers, which is what I'm gonna call them, uh,
we love it.
about this camera situation. I don't know
Well,
why
I
no
think it's a good
the camera's
tease. I
coming up.
think this means that now you at some point have to come back when the camera works real good like.
Yeah, you guys are just gonna have
Um,
to look up my face online and then imagine that my mouth is moving, and there are videos of me, so you guys can figure that out.
yeah, yeah, you exist. Well, I wonder, I mean, kind of related to obviously working for Conan, the work you did for The Onion. I feel like it's a weird time. It's been a weird few years and gotten even harder to navigate, I guess, the world of like doing comedy that is either political or satirical. And I think that, something that we've talked a lot about on the channel before is how it feels like it's kind of devolved into like on one side, political comedy is really soft clapter,
Mhm.
where someone's just like, Biden is bae, and then everyone's like, yeah, or just like this kind of like weird liberal, I don't know, like ass kissing thing. So you have like the clapper on one side, and then like the rage fisting on the other side, where we're triggering people, and we're making movies about that are just horrifically transphobic and yada yada. And it seems
Yeah,
like
those
there's
that
not as
Dailywire
much.
movie. Yeah,
Yeah, which I want to bring that up is that that's what we talked about last week on stream was Lady Ballers for an hour and a half.
beautiful.
Um, but I don't know. Like I think obviously the Onion I think does a really good job and has done a really good job in recent years, and I think there's this sense more so in the last few years, I've seen an Onion headline and being like, "Oh shit, they did it," or like they said the thing.
Mhm.
And it seems like less and less, or there's less and less space in comedy for that. So I wonder what your experience is like being someone who, performs and writes and has opinions on the world that are thoughtful and critical. Like, how do you find navigating that space?
Oh, I have a lot of thoughts about this. I would say first of all with the Onion, there is this interesting perception that has happened of that I get, and I've especially gotten on Twitter very recently just for a joke that I did, where people go, for example, the Onion sucks now.
Yeah.
And you'll see this was true also at Conan when I was there for years. I think people's association with comedy is often when they first experienced it, so they have this sense of like what they feel like is good. And with the Onion in particular, a lot of what it was built on is this like white Gen X perspective. That's where it came from. It started in the late 80s. Um, if those people uh, from the beginning are seeing headlines now that don't so much align with their political values, is
Mhm.
especially a lot of satire and political comedy is fundamentally about like reinforcing in-group mindset as
Yeah,
opposed
yeah, yeah.
to being a vehicle for changing anything. If you already disagree with the idea of the politics of if we're criticizing the police or something like that. It's like, oh, it's like gone woke, which is the, criticism that everything has gotten. So even navigating what qualifies as good or bad comedy in that sense is already comedy is already subjective, but then when you add the political dimension to it's only good insofar as I agree with it,
Mhm.
that makes it a little bit more complex to even start. But it is, I like it still. I think it's gotten better over time. I think the more complex and nuanced jokes and comedy can get makes it better.
Yeah.
And then like on a personal level as a performer, it's it's it is complicated to try to present especially something that is particularly nuanced or relatively anti-establishment to a crowd, because a lot of people come into comedy looking for all kinds of things as not like a super famous person, you still have to speak to audiences that don't necessarily know
Yeah.
you. Whereas if I've been starting off my sets with a bit about how the Pledge of Allegiance is a very weird thing, and like, not everybody can take that as a premise, especially to start. Like people want you to talk about like dating or like stuff that everybody knows about. So, but I don't that's boring to me personally.
Yeah.
So, not that I'm above it, it's just like not what I like. And so it's definitely complex to navigate being a comedian now, but also being the comedian that I want to be right now, which is like not so placating of what comedy has already been. Sorry, I just talked a lot.
No, well, I asked the question that took way too long. For people just getting here, we're hanging out with Skyler Higley, a comedian, writer at The Onion, formerly writer on Conan O'Brien. We're talking about various things related to comedy and politics. So thanks for being here. If you are here, he's broadcasting live from Onion World headquarters. So that's really cool. If you
Oh,
want to drop your favorite Onion headline in the chat, and then people can guess if Skyler wrote it or not. That'd be a weird thing to do, but you can do
it'd
it.
be very
Uh,
weird. It would have to be within the last 2 years.
Yeah, so send really old ones. And just to remind everyone, later in the show, we're going to be talking about all the drama on YouTube this week from the HBomberguy video and everyone turning out to be frauds and plagiarists and liars, because we love to talk about liars. But yeah, no, the Onion's interesting too in that it's been around almost the entirety of my life that I have consumed and thought about comedy. It's kind of always been there. And I think
Mhm.
one of the first things I remember in my life that made me laugh so hard, I felt like I couldn't breathe, was an Onion headline and an article that I printed out and brought to middle school the next day. And it was one of the point counterpoint. things they used to do. Title of which was, I think, "I'm So Hungry." People can look it up if they want, but it's just been an institution. I don't know how much you can speak to this. Isn't the who owns the Onion now? Can you say that?
Well, yeah, I can say who owns the Onion.
Yeah.
Geo Media owns the Onion, and
Okay.
Geo Media, I think, is like owned by the private equity firm Great Hill Partners. And as we
Yes.
know,
Yeah.
private equity firms and all the viewers know the private equity firms are super cool, awesome places,
They're
and all
they're
of those people
sick.
make great decisions, and
Yes.
they're all great guys. And
Yeah.
some,
I think that's awesome. No, on my way to the studio today, got to be on a really cool call with our, parent company's CEO and CFO, just learning about all the really amazing things that are going on. So I think it's really cool that you guys are also owned by a company run by people that are just really smart.
you know
And
what?
I think,
And the
yeah.
thing too, they really get the Onion. Like they
Hmm.
get it. They do understand what we're doing. They do
Yeah.
understand comedy and satire.
Yeah.
They haven't asked us to be more like Jimmy Fallon.
Yeah. Why
They're
would they?
why would they? Yeah, why would they? And I'm glad they've never said that to us. Um, so it's working conditions under them can be wonderful, and I have no complaints.
That's
And
great. The cool
you can
thing,
also
yeah.
Google how good it is. It's very easy to Google Geo Media. How good is it and fun to work for
Yeah.
that company?
Yeah. Just so people can get more details that make them feel good. Um, yeah, guys, yeah. I'm currently just happy that, as far as I know, the CEO of my company, the CEO of this company, didn't yet watch the video we made about CEOs 2 weeks ago. But on our company Slack, someone sent a thing around that was like, "Has anyone seen this video where Burns talks about why CEOs are useless, and he filmed it a day that the CEO was in the office?" And someone else was like, "Yeah, he has that person has never watched a second of the content, so
Well,
don't
that's
even
the
worry about
fun
it."
thing about CEOs, because if you look at the Onion, we do run a fair amount of headlines about CEOs and
Yes, yes.
companies and what companies do, and writers speak from experience. Oftentimes, I don't know if you've ever heard that, that sometimes writers draw from their real life.
Huh.
So uh, we
Hmm.
try not to seem like we're being too close, but like with this, I don't even feel scared about saying this at all, because those people are never gonna watch it. They're never gonna.
Never. And often think too that A, they don't watch stuff, but B, even if we make a thing that is critical or counter the ideology of the people that are, signing the paychecks, all they care about is numbers. And if
Yeah.
that thing does well from a data perspective, great. Like, we can make a video that's like why all CEOs should be burned at the stake. And if it does great numbers and leads to like a brand deal, they're like, awesome. Um,
Yeah, we had a meeting with somebody who is now no longer there, and he was like the senior, close to CEO guy. I don't know what these jobs are or whatever, but he had casually kind of said like, "Oh, well, it's a shame that." Uh, kind of said that like it's a shame that police shootings aren't happening more because that gets our numbers up,
nice,
and we were
nice.
like, what? That's what? No, we don't like any of the. We satirize the bad stuff happening, and yes, that leads to us getting page views and clicks and whatever, because everything is built on this digital currency, which is also awful. But that doesn't mean we want those bad things to happen. We are satirizing
Yeah.
them because we hate those things. We don't want people to be killed by the police. As we run a headline
Guys,
about
it's
it.
almost crazy to live in a world where the digital media economy necessitates horrific things to happen to garner attention from people to get clicks. Someone in the chat shared a Onion headline they loved this week, and who knows if Skylar wrote it or not, which was every word besides children used to describe Palestinians under 18. It's a good one. It's a good one. That's
One of our
that's a very
slideshows.
wow.
Definitely
Yeah, that's very
contributed to
good.
that.
Wait, so have you paid attention? Just curious with this. And I don't know if this is something over here we should pay attention to, but it's one of those things I can't look away from, to the way in which now the sort of what I'm comfortable calling the far right. People got mad at me last week for calling the Daily Wire far right. And I asked them to earnestly explain to me, like, if it's not, then what is it? But, they put out Lady Ballers last week, a film that changed comedy forever because it said what we're all thinking.
Of
A
course.
remake of Joanna Man, where the white guys that dress up like ladies are the good guys, and the women and trans athletes are bad. And then they put out a trailer yesterday or today for a new animated series led by a genius boy, Adam Carolla. But something that actually really surprised me on the Adam Carolla thing was some of the people. I mean, some of the voice talent are some of the biggest voices in comedic acting, like Megyn Kelly and Candace Owens, people who are known for their delivery.
Yeah, I liked Candace Owens' whole stint on Adventure Time. That was super fun.
Oh, so good. But then, like, I guess Danny Trejo is doing voices on that. Rob Riggle, Alonzo Bowden, like some people that are like actual comedians. And I was like, oh man.
Yeah, Patrick Warburton was one of them. I was like, oh no.
Yeah. But I don't know. It's a thing that we've tried to like talk about before in a way that is willing to acknowledge that there is the possibility that people that maybe have bad politics can truly still be funny. Like I don't think that they can't be, but everything I've seen thus far from that crew, it's just the most boring type of like punching down and I don't know, like the same joke over and over. But I don't know. Do you have thoughts on this, or like if is this stuff that
Totally.
you've consumed or thought
Oh
about?
yes. Well, I've thought again. This is sort of the antithesis to everything I do, so I've definitely
Yeah.
thought about it quite a bit. But what we do, and uh, any broad audience can probably. I'm sure there are tons of people who disagree with this, but what we try to do and focus on is if something is funny, and we try to really balance the quote unquote responsibility of what we're doing and what people expect from us with yeah, but is that joke funny enough? We want to hit this. We have this idea of hitting it, but is it funny enough and has it been done before? Which is a big thing for us. We try to do the most original thing. So it's like sometimes it takes a little bit to get a take that's good enough that we want to put out for something that Henry Kissinger, for example,
Yeah.
ran two headlines on that
Rest
that
in
I thought
peace.
were good. I think for a couple of those headlines, people wanted us to go harder, but also everybody was already making those jokes on Twitter. So we're like,
Yeah.
certain satire and comedy outlets don't care about making all the same jokes, but we actually do. That is all aside from the point where we're trying to be comedy first and not making this point first, shoving it in the face of whatever. Um, and I think the people who are the Dailywire people and on the right are first and foremost serving an agenda and playing to an audience. They're not trying to um, convince anybody really of anything. They're trying to reinvigorate their audience. And
Yeah.
I think conservative politics, sort of at least like culturally or identity wise, is just fundamentally set up in juxtaposition to liberal and progressive politics. So it's just saying that's stupid, and you don't get the same level of like when Jon Stewart calls out these certain contradictions in somebody's rhetoric, why we like that so much, because it like reveals a what feels like the truth as
Yeah.
opposed to just us. And of course there are degrees, and it totally applies to the liberal side as well. We're reinvigorating ourselves and all that. I'm not arguing that's not what liberals do. I'm just saying that conservative comedy is a lot more based in dunking on the snowflakes, and they have the pronouns in their bio, and that's so stupid, and like it's dumb because of like it's being dumb, and they're different, and they're mad, like, and it's also just so based in like how mad can we make people who think differently from us, like, and that's not a place of really trying to find something. If you're just trying to find how mad you can make somebody, are you really being funny, or are you just kind of being like petulant?
Yeah. No, definitely. And before we keep going, guys, just a reminder: this week Wisecrack is sponsored by the Band. We're excited to partner with a brand and a company that shares our ideals. No, but something you said when you were talking about like the Stewart example and pointing out contradictions. I mean, I sometimes like to overthink these sort of things, but something that I love about comedy and I find interesting about it, in terms of analyzing and writing and performing and all these sorts of things, is the way that there is a logic behind it. The best comedy hides that logic, so you don't feel like you're watching someone do logical deductions, but pointing out contradictions such that it makes an audience question things or rethink things in themselves and creating that space for conversation is what I think the best comedy does, or at least comedy I like a lot. And if I'm thinking of comedians who are more left or progressive, you should still be making people uncomfortable and pointing out contradictions. And you talked before about how you've opened some sets recently with the Pledge of Allegiance thing. I saw a clip of this online. I don't know what it's like to be in the room, but that's like a good example for me of something that calls a thing that a lot of people take for granted into question and can open up some space to think about the contradictions hiding in plain sight. And I don't know. I kind of we spent the end of stream last week trying to collectively, with me and all the geniuses in the chat, who are geniuses. You guys are great. We're trying to write right wing comedy movies by thinking about where you could really explore those sorts of contradictions. And I think there's ideas there. These people just they're not going for them.
Right. I think
Yeah.
they're too interested in get, not that there's not ideas that you could have from that perspective. I'm sure there
Mhm.
are, but they are too interested in the forwarding of what has already been agreed upon by that group, and then also just like they're gonna hate this one. There's a lot of
Yeah.
comedians that do jokes where they spend the setup going, I can't say this. They're not gonna let me say this. It's so bad if I say this, they're gonna be so mad. Ooh, you're gonna hate me for this one. And it is such a contrived, manufactured way of going about edginess. You just
Mhm.
established with the audience and told them that you're about to be edgy so that they accept that. And then you say the thing, and you've like built and contrived tension where there truly is none. And then
Mhm.
often the edgy thing is simply just saying sort of the establishment most ignorant thing, which is not truly edgy or revealing or risky or really quote unquote brave in any way. You're just like reinforcing people's bad thoughts instead
Yeah.
of
Well,
being,
and I like you using the word like bravery in
yeah,
there. Um, I perform a lot less than I used to, but when I was more, my comedy partner, a guy named Sean Godsey, who's also a really great animator, he would often talk about like comedy not being worth it if you're not taking risks and if you're not willing to like make it uncomfortable in trying to find something interesting. And that's something I was always very like inspired by. And one of the last really good, I mean, I've seen good stand up since then, but it was like 2 weeks before all the lockdown stuff happened. I remember one of the last stand up shows I went to was Sarah Squirm, aka SNL's Sarah Sherman in her pre
amazing.
SNL days. Yes. And it was at a pretty big venue in LA. And in the days leading up to the 2020 election, the comedy vibe out here was really weird in that I went to a bunch of shows where people talked about like why they loved Elizabeth Warren so much and why like Bernie Sanders
Yeah.
was bad. And it was like the weirdest vibe. And then Sarah did a PowerPoint presentation on all the reasons you were a total idiot if you weren't going to vote for Bernie Sanders, that then ended with I think it was like an animation of her being a piece of shit that came out of someone's butt.
That sounds like
Um,
Sarah. That's my Sarah.
yeah, it was great. It was so fun too because not only was that great, the reason I briefly got to know her a bit is because she was canvassing for Bernie Sanders in the
Was.
same little neighborhood I was in out here, which is fun. I was actually I'm gonna say there were some good comedians who showed up for those who it made me like them a lot. I remember showing up at a canvas one day and it was like Sarah was there, Eric Andre was there, and then Kim Gordon from Sonic Youth was there, and I was like,
Oh,
okay,
nice.
this fucks. This fucks.
Yeah.
Like
I
good
mean,
comedians and good musicians.
as like a thing, I've known Sarah for like quite a while.
Yeah,
She started in Chicago and like
yeah.
run the open mic that I went to all the time. I open for her when she's in town.
Oh yeah.
Her whole like ethos has always been like this, like, if people aren't familiar, she's on SNL now, so people probably know, but
Which is so
his
crazy and so cool that she's on SNL now.
in this whole risky, like, both in ways vulnerable, but just like absurd and as gross and uncomfortable as you can possibly make it as somebody who is, and I think there is sort of, feminist underpinnings of it where it's like,
Definitely.
my body is gross. We are gross. It is gross to be in the world.
Yeah.
And it's been interesting because the first time I saw it, I did not get it and I didn't like it. And then like
Hmm.
the next couple, but I'm like, why is everybody else liking this? And I think
Yeah.
part of it, if
It's
you
challenging.
is very challenging. And part of it is you haven't seen her live, I would implore you to see her perform live because obviously, as with comedy, also everybody go see live comedy. Comedy is we are consuming it over screens and clips and online and all this stuff, which is great and fine as it exposes us to it, but the feeling of it happening live and what you can see is amazing. And Sarah's one of the most amazing people at it. Last time I opened for her, she went like, "I'm gonna get on the God mic and I'm just gonna bring you out. It's gonna be no big deal." Um, and instead of just bringing me out, she just starts talking, and because she started talking, she started riffing, and then she started making the audience laugh so much that instead of bringing me out, she just went out in like 10 minutes and then kept making a whole bit about how she was going to bring me out. She did this both shows. It was amazing. It
My
set up
God.
the audience. They loved it. It was like she is like a wind-up toy. So it, yeah, that is
Well,
our Sarah Squirm
we
tangent.
we love to give homework around here, so everyone go watch some Sarah Squirm clips pre SNL. She's very funny on SNL too, and it's awesome that she's there. But watch some of the real weird stuff. I
Surprising. She's
know.
so anti SNL. Like she would make fun of it all the time, and they're like, "Let me get you."
I'll say it's very cool that I feel like when she went on that show, part of me was like not judging her at all because it's like honestly get the bag, but was like, oh man, there's no way they're gonna let her do like her stuff on SNL. But in many ways they have, and I
Yeah,
think that's
they
really
do.
great.
Yeah, that's great.
But yeah, I have I won't say names on stream. We could talk about this later. But I hang with some folks out here that spent 1 or 2 years on SNL, and the stories you hear make it sound not fun. But I'm glad when people
Yeah,
make it work. I want to kind of wrap up on this. I know you got to go soon because you have to make the headlines that we can all consume
yeah,
to
we got a
find
meeting.
joy in the pain. Let's talk about a tweet you had this week that was people
Let's talk
freaked out
about.
about. Um, so I don't know if you guys saw this. Skyler tweeted, and this is after the BBC did casting for. Wait, it was Isaac Newton, right?
Yeah, Sir Isaac Newton.
Yeah. So they're making a doc on Sir Isaac Newton, which is great. We love science, physics, apples on heads, things of that nature. And you tweeted, I have it loading right now. Why do white people lose their minds when you change the race of a fictional character? Now, the original tweet was Isaac Newton being played by a person of color, and someone who tweeted it was mad at historical revisionism. You tweeted that, and people lost their minds at the thing you said they would lose their. I don't know. What was
Uh,
that like? What was that like? Because
well,
they're watching the reaction to it was insane.
I mean, it's funny to me. The whole thing is very absurd. It's also like upsetting, not in a personal way, because people were really coming out, and that wasn't really upsetting me. It was upsetting in the way that um everything that we're talking about, where it's you just believe one thing or you don't, and that's sort of the end of the argument because everyone's reaction, for context, is that uh, I actually thought that Sir Isaac Newton was not real, and that's what a lot of people came at me saying, and then they're like, "Oh, now you're trying to play it off as a joke." I I think to me that's a very clear joke. Satirizing, we already know that is what happens, why people freak out when you change the Little Mermaid to black. Um, I'm satirizing that as that tweet where it's like we're already talking about this as a thing that's happened. I even included like an eye roll emoji to be like to
Yeah.
kind of tip the joke a little bit. And then even still they are under some of my tweets being like, you didn't know Sir Isaac Newton was fake, and are very mad about it still, which is really funny to me.
That's great. I mean, the meta-ness of it all is very fun as well. You making a joke about a type of person that then pops up to react to the. I loved it so much. And thank you for taking one for the team by having to deal with, I'm sure, so many batshit mentions and weird DMs and things
Oh
like
yeah, but
that.
it's okay because I don't have notifications on for people I don't follow, so I can
Smart.
easily just not see them. It was only when I looked back at another tweet that I saw people were still replying to me and talking about it. Like, oh, okay, wow, you guys are really mad about this. And now I have like a good, I don't know how many people, but I got a good portion of hate follows where they only have followed me to uh just be mad and be like, you don't know stuff and you're uneducated. Um and it's funny to, that we exist in this time where the prevalence of quote unquote misinformation or whatever leads to the most bad faith reading of anything. And even if you have any sort of like context, it doesn't matter. But there are, people from a lot of different places. If there's like a guy who, because the original tweet was like a BBC thing,
Yeah,
and there's, I'm assuming these are people across the world who are like real Brexity
I love them.
people that are now mad at this, where it's like they have a completely different mental set and are living in a completely different world from me. So I don't know if I can be mad at any of them in particular, but I also like that's weird that that's the world that we're in now.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, Skylar, I'm getting DMs from the CEO of Geo Media right now, letting me know
Oh,
important meeting to go to soon.
do
And also use some really funny emojis and memes to let me know that he gets it. But truly, thank you so much for coming on. Can I get you to say publicly in front of the 900 or so people watching that you'll come back sometime?
yeah, I'll
He
time
said
and I
it.
hope
That's
Mike
legal,
be
legally binding.
better.
Oh
Okay,
no,
I'll do it.
you. Oh no, am I going
Oh
out or is
no.
Skylar going out? Am I there, Henry? Okay, well, it looks like we lost Skylar.
You hear me?
Um,
You can't hear me.
oh, we can hear you now. We can hear you now.
Okay,
Oh no, it's
back.
now.
My back. Okay, well, I was just about to start complimenting Michael and Wisecrack in the channel and everything. So, if my audio doesn't work for that, that sucks. I guess I can't. It's for you guys. But I genuinely really love the channel and what you're doing, and it's really cool and something good to watch to be able to analyze culture and philosophy and current events from this. And I wish more people had more access to it or wanted to engage content in that way. And that's all I got.
That means so much. And honestly, with talking to you now, I just kept thinking, I just want to talk to you more. So let's do it again. And it really means a lot. Love your work.
Yeah.
Everyone in the chat was excited to have you here. So let's do it again soon and have a good meeting. And let's make some money. We got to finish Q4 of 2023 hot for the investors. Okay, everyone.
Thank you.
Everyone, thanks Skylar chat and follow, guys. If you're in the chat, follow Skylar on social medias. You can follow Skylar on Instagram, you can follow Skylar on Twitter, all that sort of stuff. And everyone in the chat, I hope you know that I never don't see what you're saying. So I really I want you to know that the way my brain works, I'm always checking in with you. But seriously, thank you so much to Skylar for being here. Thank you for y'all for being here. Station identification, Wisecrack Live, Michael Burns, producer Henry. You're the chat and you're the best. We're gonna get into the biggest news of the week, of the month on YouTube. Now we're going to start talking about that. But first, again, someone in a second, Henry will drop links to Skyler's stuff in the chat if that's cool. So we'll do that. Guys, we got some stuff to talk about. A few things real quick. If you want to be a member of the channel, you can. We have one Lord of the chat already. Gifting memberships is a cool thing to do. If you're watching and haven't liked the stream, do us a solid and like the stream. It really helps us out. You can always watch streams on VOD after the fact. So if you came in part of the way through and you're like, oh no, I want to hear all the stuff Skyler said, you can still do that. So don't even worry. Don't worry. Tyler Schmidt is now the coolest Tyler again. Yes. I'm sorry, Tyler. You had to be second for a little bit. You took it like a champ. Fun Opticon is also a member of the Henry Collective. But yeah, guys. So do that, like things, Patreon videos, whatever. But we're going to start this topic. And in a little bit, we're going to be joined by my colleague, Michael Luxembourg. So where do we start? Where do we start with what happened on the internet this week? So I think, what day did the HBomb plagiarism video drop?
Let me check. I believe it dropped, was it Friday? Or am I just
I'm trying to.
totally
Is it worth
wrong on that?
trying to watch any of that, or is it like kind of too much to even dip in? Should we just talk about it?
The intro, the intro is really good, and then in segments, the Illuminati one might be worth going standalone on. Although,
Yeah. Well, is there the separate one he made that was just on Illuminati?
yes, we have that supplemental one. We can run that on. It's on the Watch Together if you want to pull it up.
Oh, yeah. I'm pulling up the Watch Together right now. Why is it not showing me? Yeah, switch to desktop version. I don't want to be on this mobile bullshit. Okay, so but the basic gist here, and are you someone, Henry, have you watched his channel before this popped?
HBomberguy? Yeah. I've liked his content for a while. Like his Dark Souls 2 essay is pretty fun, and also his essay on director's
This video
cuts.
is a supplement
but,
to a 4-hour video
yeah,
about
I was a fan
plagiarism.
for a
You
while.
should go watch first.
Yeah. Well, so I'm going to give context to everyone. If you're in the chat, we love you. Let's get the dome. Guys, we got 666. Oh, I forgot to say this. We got to 900 at one point, guys. That's fucking amazing. Thank you so much for that. I got really nervous that we were going to have Dome Day. Dome Day at Sta, because I've not buzzed the dome in a while. So right now, I don't know. I look like a weird high school principal from an early 90s movie once I take this thing off. But if you want to get us there, let's get us there. So here's context, friends. Yeah, HBomberguy for 4-hour video. So basically, if you know nothing else, know this. A prominent YouTuber and video essayist dropped a 4-hour video pointing out the ways in which a number of people who are pretty prominent in the gaming and video essay space make content that's full of lies. And by lies, we're talking about people that are plagiarizing or copying facts or copying the work of other videos, are making things up, all types of stuff. And, I ended up watching his video. And then the other video is by, what's the channel? The guy has the video. I fact checked the worst video essayist on YouTube.
Todd in the Shadows.
Todd in the Shadows made a really good video as well. And now I'm forgetting as well. What's the guy that Tom in the Shadows that his video is about?
James Somerton.
So James Somerton.
I fell hook, line, and sinker for
hard.
Somerton. I feel very betrayed right now, and it's been a weekend.
Yeah, it's been a weekend. So, and I ended up getting interested in this both because I exist on YouTube. I'm not a material entity. I'm a digital entity that exists solely in this space for your pleasure and creating content that can be marketable. But it was interesting to me, and watching Somerton's content especially, how much of it is like, oh yeah, this just looks like a standard YouTube video essay. This feels good. It's presented in such a way that this seems like a person who knows what they're talking about. And it was the first time I really realized that there is a formal structure to the YouTube video essay that can allow one to be very full of shit. There's like a way it's filmed, the way an idea is brought up, the way someone says, but it wasn't really like that. And, there's like all these things. And it made me realize that like how much of that essay space is either bullshit, bullshittable, bullshit adjacent, or so easy to make up. We're at 898. Let's get to 9 to 10. And let's only don't, guys. Dome de está. Let's do it. And I hope that I'm not offending anyone who's a Spanish speaker. It just sounds fun to say out loud. But yeah, so let's watch a little bit of, and is anyone in the chat, and Henry as well, have you watched the Illuminati channel before?
I watched a few things of hers a while back. I can't remember why I dropped off watching. I think I just lost interest. But when the Legal Eagle editor thing came up, I just straight up unfollowed and unsubbed if I was still hanging on by that point.
Yeah. And you know what it made me realize too? So one of the things that comes up in HBomberguy's video, publicly accused Legal Eagle. And you know, Legal Eagle, Devin's been right here. That guy was right here in this room. Accused them of kind of stealing, style, editing elements, all that sort of things. And I think when I first saw those tweets, my brain almost went to like, oh, maybe they're right. Maybe this person, but they were wrong. Yeah, and I also, some of this I saw on Twitter from following Maggie Mae Fish, who was debating with Summerton and people around that space. By the way, let's watch a little bit of this. So this is not the 4-hour video. This is the extra 20 minutes from the 4-hour video that's on Illuminati. And I'm going to say this, man, Illuminati, shitty channel, bad stuff, not good, do not like, to quote young Chief Keef, this some shit I don't like. But let's watch a little bit of this video just to give us some context. And I think even if you're not deep in the YouTube world surrounding some of these creators, there's still a really interesting discussion to be had here.
As a supplement to a video about plagiarism you should go watch first. Then again, you might have better things to do.
Yeah, the new Maggie video is awesome.
Taste.
The video's rip.
I'll just give you the context.
Yeah, Maggie's
one segment was about the YouTuber Illuminati, whose videos heavily plagiarize documentaries. She downloads the footage and then paraphrases.
Oh yeah, we're gonna establish the scene and then we're gonna bring Lux in to jump off the top rope.
This is the voiceover, and if you're lucky, she'll briefly acknowledge she's just telling you what happened in a documentary you could have watched for yourself.
He's the grandfather of the MMR scare. The professor is semi-retired, but still charges up to $750 an hour
That's my dad,
to cheat
actually.
autistic children.
So this grandfather of the anti-vax movement, as he described, charges $150 an hour to treat autistic children, which, is fucking ridiculous.
So here's what just happened there, in case you didn't notice this. There was a clip from a documentary. It's a documentary I've watched before. I did a video about anti-vaxxers. In her channel, Illuminati paraphrased the exact VO from the documentary itself and added a little aside, we're in the 930s, and presented it as content that she made herself. That's what happened. It wasn't 933. I'm really afraid right now. It went, Jackson Maris here, skip intro.
So excited. Let's get that raw dome.
Yeah. Also, to whoever tried to get Jackson and me collectively canceled on Twitter, it didn't work. Try harder. Don't try harder.
Only made us stronger.
Yeah. Okay. Sean Graff says, how many dads do you have, Michael? Too many dads. This guy has so many dads. I almost made a joke right there that was going to describe why I have so many dads, and it was going to be really gross and really dark. And I want you to know that I have restraint. This restraint is sponsored by 36 milligrams of Concerta, providing emotional regulation and keeping you from hearing a really crass story about how I was conceived during a GANG space BANG. Didn't say it out loud. So let's watch a little bit more of this.
Your other documentary, how are you getting these numbers wrong? And sometimes she just starts copying the voiceover. Badly.
They have a sister organization, the Good News Doctor Foundation.
They have a sister organization, the Good Doctor Foundation.
Just wild!
Oh my god, the name is on the screen. Does she record these in one take? The smart aleck in high
Sign up for, maybe we'll start a new Patreon level where I record all the jokes that I want to say during videos and streams that I don't.
school who had to write a 2,000-word essay and submitted one with 1,800 words of quotes, decided to start a YouTube channel. And it's not pretty.
Scary.
Illuminati's goal is to...
Guys, if we're going to do Raw Dome soon, I'm going to have to, get one of our interns. We don't have interns. To run to the makeup room. We don't have a makeup room. To get me some trimmers.
Make as many videos as possible as fast as possible, and that means writing as little as she can, and borrowing what other people already made by quoting them or reusing their footage. But she knows the videos would seem like low-effort garbage if she told you where she got everything as she said it, so instead she often just doesn't. But what I found
I mean, here's the thing too about this, right? And this is not me sticking up for Illuminati. I think this is trash. I think you shouldn't do that. I think it's very bad. But it's like, what is the system that produces the need for so much content that people then use plagiarism and shitty Googling and AI and whatever else to make all the content? I can't believe that we're almost at 1,000. This is going to suck. But Vern says that's 14 dads. That's canon. But it's like, we live in a system that rewards that, right? And, you know, there was a period a couple of years ago, and some of you could see when this happened on the channel. There was a period where we got told, oh my God, Illuminati makes $200K a year off Patreon and doesn't pay a researcher. Oh, eat shit. Eat shit. That's insane. But there was a period where some people that were at our company then who no longer are there were basically like, Wisecrack needs to make more. They need to maximize traffic. So we started making some other formats. The people did not like. Some of them were good. Some of them were not. But all I'd say is it didn't like help. Oh, fuck, we're at 986. Fuck. I'm so pissed.
I'm muted here, but chat, you need to know I am cackling like a goblin in Michael's ear over this.
Fuck. Guys, it's like truly, I said this morning to my wife, yeah, I'm married. I was like, oh man, I really wanted to trim my hair today. I haven't in a while because, you know, we have this whole dome on stream thing. And she was just like, why did I marry you? Shut up. Dome, sweet dome. Dome day is the dome day upon us? Oh man. Dead card gifted membership to a lovely and lucky person. But I'm gonna just act like we're streaming, and I'm gonna act like it's not Dome Day Dome Day 2, the day of reckoning. Okay. Oh, and Sherwin gifted 5 memberships. Hell yeah, goes, we love it. Gift memberships. We love to gift. But all to say is like there is just a psychotic economy around YouTube and digital content that rewards this sort of shit. But then someone pointed out that they also have 200K in Patreon. And I think that like some of the creators who I like a lot that have big Patreon followings or on Nebula or whatever, the thing that I like about those people, what do you say?
I'm seeing 1,000 too.
Are you serious? Is it confirmed?
I'm seeing it. Yeah, chat's seeing it.
Fuck. Fuck, guys, I want it to be a good-looking dome today, too. How long do I have to show it for?
Hey, you have a good-looking beard. Look, oh, yes.
Take it in, kids. Take it all in. The day of Dome is upon us. Dome Day está, okay? You know, Dome, you touch that dial. Domo arigato, Mr. Dome Roboto. I don't know. Dome Hard 2, The Reckoning. You know, the Domepire Strikes Back. Come up with your, oh, it's under 1,000. Done. As we did
I would like to thank the community. We did this.
Let's round of applause for everyone here, guys. Round of applause for in the chat. Round of applause. There we go. Did you notice how the light reflected off it and all of a sudden everything changed? I would like to thank all of my dads, all 14 of them, for making me the man I am. I'd like to thank my mother for, you know, creating a really uncomfortable situation that led to me having 14 dads, but good for her. And most importantly, I would like to thank Joel Osteen, pastor to the stars, for letting me know that Christ is with me in everything I do. You know, let's do it again and I can get, you know, someone just said I've never been more aroused. I love it. Do I powder it? No, what I normally do, though, to be honest, is after a good buzz, I put some vitamin E oil on it. So there you go, guys. We really did it. I just feel like we should end now. And you know what? I did say something last week on stream that now I regret. I said something like, there's no way we're getting raw dome. But then it happened. Okay, let's get back to the video because now I'm just talking about dome and the numbers drop when you talk about dome. You got to build anticipation. I will say if it gets back to 1,000, I guess I'll be raw domed when we're above that mark. But hey, I will say this too, guys. It's been a really fun journey doing the stream with you all. It's been a fun journey doing this with Henry. Um, I love coming here every week and say, "Oh, Callie missed the dome." That sucks, because Callie's, an OG member of the commune. But it was fun. It's fun when we did it together. So let's get back to this. So let's watch a little, and we'll talk about it more. And we're gonna get Lux on in a second.
Funny was she also uses various tricks to make it seem like she's not quoting something, or at least not as much as she really is. A good example is in the first video in her series about Andrew Wakefield. She brings up Rosemary Kessick, a prominent anti-vaxxer, explains who she is, and then briefly quotes her.
She introduced quack diets for autistic people, which led to allergy-induced autism group. She says it improves them.
Domer coaster. Oh yeah, and if you want to drop dome puns, keep them going. I was so worked up that I didn't really get any fire ones off.
Them.
Wes Walcott, first chat, and you saw a dome. You went all the way on our first date, Wes.
Wow.
We went all the way, man. We thought it was gonna be a casual date, and there you go. John, his employer paid him to look at Raw Dome. If you're watching, go to HR and say, "Is it weird that boss paid me to watch Raw Dome on the internet today? When you get home today from work, how was work today, honey? Saw some Raw Dome on the web."
She is known, but just as dangerous.
This all seems fine, right? She's actually reading a blog post word for word, including the quote.
She is the brain behind Vaxxed. She gave Wakefield the idea that MMR vaccines are the cause of autism. She introduced quack diets for autistic people, which led to allergy-induced autism group. She says it improves them.
So here's what I don't get, and I mean this very genuinely. If you are, so we've all been students, right? Yeah, there's a Raw Dome emote, right? Oh, why did we not flood this with the dome emotes, friends? We made the Raw Dome emote for this moment, and we got so worked up that we didn't even use it. So I would like to see some MFN Raw Dome emotes flood in the chat, baby. That's what I'd like to see. Let's see. Bow Wow says, "I guess my question going forward, is there a method that can viewers easily tell whether or not a content creator is plagiarizing?" I mean, that's the hardest thing with all of this, right? Thank you. That's the hardest thing with all this, is like, it's really hard to do that, because it would necessitate, right, you pausing a video, typing out some of the dialogue, let's say, and Googling it for yourself to see what was going on. So I think that's the hard thing there. And I think honestly, it's about, to me, one of the outcomes of this is just like having more collective, I guess, like being more critical of the things we consume, such that we find creators we trust. I'll say this too. There's some channels I like a lot where people don't show their faces, but I do feel like it's easier to be a liar if you don't show your face. Then again, Summerton. But yeah, let's watch it, just a little bit more of this, and then we're gonna get our guy Lux on here in a second.
She is well known, but just as dangerous.
She did this to break up the reading again, because after this bit, she actually does go on to quote the blog post. She has it on screen and she reads from it, and it slowly scrolls down. For about a minute and 15 seconds of this video, you're just watching her read a blog.
Jason, I don't want you to feel stupid that you don't know what's going on. We're just going to catch up on some things here real quick, guys. A while ago on the stream, Wisecrack Live, hosted by me, Michael Burns, produced by producer Henry, we established certain metrics of viewership that led to certain rewards, reactions, or for me, punishments. There was a point where 666 was established, that we would yell 666 in a Satan-like voice for fun. There was another one we skipped today, and it maybe was like 777 or 888 that I had to do
Yeah,
push-ups
we did a 777 celebration, but I don't believe that's what the push-ups were for. It didn't feel fitting in the same way 666 did.
Yeah. Persephone Sky, thank you for cheating the system. And then at one point, I said, and at 1,000, I'll show Raw Dome, because it's, of course, the thing. I wear hats all the time. I mean, we know that I'm bald. There's images of me that you could find. We all know this, but still. So that's kind of why, for those asking, why when we got to 1,000 current viewers, people were saying Raw Dome, and I took my hat off. It might seem silly. It is silly. But if you've been around for a while, that's why it's there. There's a Wisecrack lore document as well. Push-ups at 800, Curtis B said. Maybe someone can add to the lore doc that today is the day that it happened. December 6th, 2023. The other thing, if anyone feels lost right now, we're talking about a couple of videos that came out this week pointing at plagiarism and lazy video essays on YouTube.
Post to you. And it's especially excruciating because she just got
Tyler, I want a hat sponsor so bad.
done quoting Brian Deere for 45 seconds. It's endless. So there's a bit in the middle where she pretends she's not quoting anyone to make it feel less
Let us know in the chat what you want at 2000.
dull. She's quite sneaky about hiding this. You see the
Bow Wow says, I don't think it's entirely fair to viewers to think harder about it when creators directly go out of their way to try and... No, I think that's not wrong at all. I guess there's just not an easy answer, right? Well, so let's oh, go ahead, Henry.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's really about what you prioritize or place what you place essay in as far as what you use it for. I don't think they should be like a primary source of your education. But like if they lead to good books, that's usually what I judge an essay on. Like if it leads me towards like picking up other sources or like has like backing to like prove its grounding, like that tends to be like a conduit towards things, not an end of something.
Yeah, I agree. So let's bring Lux on to talk about this, guys. So Michael Luxembourg, if you don't know him and love him, but you know him and love him, Wisecrack's director, also does a lot of very cool non-Wisecrack things. But he has so many thoughts on this. He was like, if you don't put me on stream to talk about this, I'm gonna kill 11 of your dads, and you'll only have 3 dads left. A real
Let's
thing.
get him on.
I can show you the message. So yeah, let's get Lux on when we talk about this. Dragging him by his legs. Okay, guys. So Lux will be he's getting set up. He's almost here. We're gonna have two people on the stream are about to be in Texas right now. So the Ted Cruz energy is gonna be radiating through this space. So if you feel like you're watching a Ted Cruz stream, that's why. But guys, Lux is here. You probably know Lux, but Lux has thoughts on this. So I'll do a little setup and we'll go from here. Again, if you're just tuning in, this is Wisecrack Live. We had our buddy Skyler Higley in the first hour. We had Raw Dome a second ago. We're now talking about the HBomber video, a bunch of the other videos that came out this week that deal with plagiarism and lying and copying and falseness and just fake behavior in the YouTube video essay space. We've been talking about that a little bit. Lux, you have thoughts on it. Let's start by passing you the ball. Monologue for a little bit.
Okay, well, first, hello, everyone. Good to see you guys, I guess. It's good to see your chats, I guess is a better way to put it. Yeah, so this is like a couple of questions that just came up as I was waiting in the waiting room, I think are pretty pertinent to my big feelings about this, which is like video essays. It would be great in a world where video essays are like a viable primary means of education, but that's just not the way it works. However, they do, like Henry said, lead you to other work, and people in the chat set it off immediately. I'll take off the beanie if we hit 1,000 again. I'm glad I wasn't here for the Raw Dome because I got to keep it on the whole time.
Well, you didn't enter into a reckless social contract, so you're safe. You have head autonomy.
But I do believe in a radical solidarity, so if it had happened, I would have done it. But yeah, point being, this sort of secondary fact-checking, secondary literature thing is like one of the most valuable things about video essays. It's one of the things that I like about working at Wisecrack is that I get to see the research documents that you and Amanda put together, and like if there's books I haven't read, I go read them, and then I learn things, and it's great. And people who watch the videos get to do that, and lots of people get to do that. It's great. The problem when people are plagiarizing is twofold. One is that people can't do that. You can't do second-order fact-checking because you don't have the citations to check, right? Because they hide them because they're trying to trick you. And the second thing is it creates this ethos of knowledge and information because they're speaking from a perspective of someone who has done the work to research it. So why would you double check it? This dude sounds like he knows what he's talking about. And so that's a reason why people like absolutely and always sort of fall into these tricks, right? Someone asked, like, it seems unfair to put this on the listeners, and it's true, right? Like, it's not their fault by any stretch of the imagination. However, it's also on them to figure it out only because if they're going to take that second order step, that's where you discover it. For instance, I have long been a guy who thinks James Somerton and Illuminati suck, because of trying to follow up on things and realize that things are plagiarized. But I'm not an HBomberguy. I don't make it for a video essay. I just tell my friends who mentioned them, those guys fucking suck. Fuck those guys. But yeah, it's truly a bizarre dynamic in the sense that we go to video essayists because there's so much life to live and so much sort of content to interact with and so much knowledge to gain from the world, and it helps to have a Burns or an HBomberguy or anyone else, a Maggie Mae Fish, to distill that down and make it and make things happen. And when your people you trust are giving you bad information and you don't have the mechanism to fact check it, it gets all fucked up. This happens not just in Abigail Thorne. Shouts out. Fucking Philosophy Tube is one of my favorites. But this actually happens not just in video essays, but in like big time publishing. The Harvard Journalism Review is like in big trouble right now because they put out a new book about bureaucracies in the Qing Dynasty that I was fool enough to read because I was not smart enough to know that it was full of bullshit and stuff.
Just quick shout out to Dude Abides in the chat.
Oh shit!
Thank you for that.
I think we also hit a thundo.
Back over 1,000. I see. Yeah.
I don't see it. I believe it when I see it.
I screen capped it. It's
Chat
real.
sees it.
I don't see it, but I'll give you fucks a little.
Here's what I look like without my hat. Like a real fucking scumbag. Burns is like bald in a dignified way. I just look like an absolute dirtbag.
999 upside down 666.
Yeah.
Also, if any other bald people are watching this, you gotta while this is happening, it's your responsibility to also participate. So I will say that but I just see 999 on my screen, and that's what matters to me. So
yeah, it's a 1013. Burns, what screen are you looking at?
My screen. Okay, I see 1K now. I would say if anyone's numbers matter, mine. So I can make them up. I can make them up.
Burns is hierarchy epistemology again. Classic Burns.
Well, this is like worse than the real D-Day because they only had to storm the beaches of Normandy once. I've had to do this twice.
Yeah, plus they got to go to the beach. But the thing I was going to say about the Harvard Journalism Review, there was this book that came out about bureaucracy, the Qing Dynasty, and information. And what happened was, it turned out the argument the book basically made. There's a bunch of problems with the book, but the core argument the book made was that actually things weren't as bad as we thought they were. It's that they had so much more bureaucracy, everyone knew about them. And then a bunch of historians were like, actually, no, a bunch of bad stuff did happen. We have records of it, right? It wasn't that people freaked out about learning things. It's that a revolution happened, a bunch of people got killed. And Harvard is now under fire because this text was poorly fact-checked, was poorly researched. They put it out. So it's not that shocking to see that this is also happening obviously in the YouTube space, right? We're not as rigorous about fact-checking as Harvard supposedly is. And what happens is it creates bad information. And so in the future, there are going to be scholars who look up the history of the Qing Dynasty who find this book that was rated the third most important book about China of the year. And then they're going to read it and they're going to reproduce these claims and they're going to be false claims. And that's why the Todd in the Shadows video is so good about James Somerton is he's reproducing and repudiating bad claims, and Illuminati does bad fake claims, and they're not giving you the tools that's obviously plagiarism is bad, both morally and economically. It's bad to steal people's work and it's bad to appropriate it as your own and get rich off of it. It's also bad fucking epistemologically because I can't fucking fact check your shit if I don't have citations on it. And a good example of this is, you've all heard the meme, we've accidentally even repeated it on the channel, that medieval laborers work less than we do now. That claim comes from an essay that cites two other essays that both basically claim you might think medieval workers worked less than we do because they had so many holidays, but that's totally wrong. And they just cherry picked the claim that they work less than we do, plugged that into their book and said, 2 scholars said this means it's real. And like, you have to be able to fact check that shit. Otherwise, people are just going to say wrong stuff all the time. And we live in a world full of disinformation and fake bullshit anyways.
Cool. There's a super chat I want to bring up from Marcelo that says, the debacle is an issue of mass production of creative work over quality for money. Can you discuss, this is happening with all creative work out there. I'll just throw in one thing. I'm curious.
Cool.
We're back.
Technical difficulties, but we are back now.
All right, cool. So, but basically what I'm saying is, like, I wonder if one of the issues here is that the expectation some of us have when we consume content is whether this could be conscious or unconscious. Is it a matter of, I want to watch some shit that's mildly distracting, or I want to watch something that's controversial, or I want to watch something that's good background entertainment? I just worry that sometimes there's not a genuine concern by some, and I'm willing to say this could be an unconscious thing for that sort of content. And that's just to, respond again to the super chat, which I lost now. But yeah, I don't know. Those are from Marcelo. So I don't know. So when I think about the mass production of creative work over quality, at a certain point, I just wonder if we lose the desire for that. Oh shit, it's over. Okay, again, I'll show a little bit of dome. But also, the stream doesn't have enough likes, so do some likes. But Henry, what do you think? Let's do Henry and then back to Captain Lux.
Yeah, the thing kind of like the HBomb video gets at near the end is the way there's like this perceived perception, or there's this perception that you have to do this for profit, or Somerton is just kind of going off of like a profit-driven business model, so it hollows out even like caring about the content. And yeah, that's just across all fields. And if there's anything you can do to kind of try to suss out the good essayists from the bad essayists, it is to try to figure out like which ones are putting passion into their videos. I know that's a bit abstract, but it's one of the hard things to kind of go on.
I mean, I think that's a big part of it, right? Like, it's very clear, right, at the point where Somerton's just copying everyone's shit, that he's just in it for the money, right? He doesn't have fun doing it. He doesn't like...
Yeah, when I started thinking about Somerton's videos, I was like, oh yeah, those are definitely ones I background more than do any kind of like primary attention paying on as far as how they engage or what they say. I'm usually just taking down the books he's citing, but I just didn't realize how far the word for word lifting was, and also just the insane amount of Patreon money.
Yeah, I mean, like, this is, a little self-indulgent, but like, part of the fun thing about working at Wisecrack, right, is that there are times where Burns and Amanda and I like argue about how to apply Heidegger to the news, right? And like, how do we approach this question? What do we do with it? What's the idea here? What, like, he said, Heidegger says this here. We cross-apply philosophies and analyses and stuff like that, and that's fun and it's exciting and it's riveting and it's like one of the great joys of working here, right? But James Somerton's not fucking in it for that, man. He's just reading a book, right? He's just reading quotes out of a book into a microphone, or
just straight up lying.
Or just straight up lying, right? So he's not doing the fun shit. The reason this shit is fun to do. Like, he doesn't care. And I think that couples with a second thing, which is that he does that for capital, for money capital. People also watch these Johns for social and intellectual capital, right? So there's a bunch of people who don't care if the information that they get is good. They just care that it's information that they can repeat and that sounds good, right? They want to have shit to say to their friends at parties, shit to sound good when they're having conversations on Tinder dates, shit to say when they're home for Thanksgiving or whatever, right? The main thing they're doing is absorbing knowledge to regurgitate it effectively. The problem, I think, and that's not everyone, right? That's just a subsection of people, but the part of the problem with this thing is that as long as those people exist, which they do, and they'll inevitably do that, that's what happens in the whole world, but as long as that class exists, it doesn't matter. As long as they are around, as long as you make things that bounce around in their little brains and like rattle around, they can repeat them, you're just getting the same, like, you can just say whatever. And so there's this thing where you're not going to hold YouTube videos to academic standards. Good Lord, if they did, even we would be in trouble because like we've had goofs, right? Like that happens. But like, you have to hold them to some epistemological standards and standards of knowledge, because otherwise people just say whatever, and then people just repeat whatever at their little parties.
Yeah.
And then it gets worse and worse and worse.
Yeah. So just another super chat here where Batter says, I think this is more telling of the general culture around information where we just don't care if something's true versus how it makes us feel. I think that's a really good
Yeah.
point. But yeah, and I think too is something that came up at the end of the video is generative AI. And the thing is, guys, whether we like it or not, more and more content that exists on the internet is going to be generated by AI to take up space to get views to sell advertising. And I think there's a point at which, like, this reminds me of some of the debates that I've heard around television before, right? And people will get mad. And thanks for being here, guys. Please continue to like the stream. Thanks for hanging out. Just a reminder, we're hanging out. It's Wisecrack Live. Michael, producer Henry, director Lux. We're talking about some of the recent drama on YouTube involving the HBomb video and some other stuff that really highlighted all the fuck shit on the internet. But now numbers are dropping, so I'm gonna get 2 hats. I can't wait. But there's this like debate you can have with people sometimes, or a fight that comes up around television. And it's a fight that happens when people expect certain things from TV, or they're mad that networks aren't doing things, or creators aren't doing things, or whatever. And it's a misunderstanding that comes from the fact that commercials aren't there to facilitate the show. The show is there to facilitate the commercials. The commercials like come first. And in YouTube and the digital economy in general, data, advertising, ads, all that stuff, that is what comes first. And the content in many ways is just serving that. Now, there are people, like we talked about before, who create their like own directly funded communities. I think like ContraPoints is a good example of this, because as you notice, she doesn't make a ton of videos on her public facing YouTube anymore because she just facilitates work for the patrons. But I don't know. I just think that, like, yeah, Jackson says content sells ads. And I do think that to an extent, I like agree with all the points being made. I agree with what Lux is saying. I agree with most of those videos. I agree with what I'm seeing in the chat, except for the one person I don't agree with in the chat. You know who you are. But I do think some of it is becoming a little Don Quixote-esque in that, like, the energy pushing everything forward in the space is just like ads and selling shit and data. So sadly, it almost creates a moral imperative that's never going to be enforced on people creating stuff themselves.
Well, I think what you're getting at that is important to remember is that there's 2 questions here, right? There's why do people make this shit and why do people listen to this shit? Right? And those are 2 distinct questions. I think what you just outlined is like the answer to the question, why do people make this shit? Because they can sell ads, because they're forced to sell ads to make money, to do their Patreons, do all this stuff. That's like an economic incentive to behave in this way, and that's why people do it. There's also this epistemological question of why do people believe this shit? And I think that goes towards, like, there's this essay that came out several years ago that was a Heideggerian response to Ben Shapiro, right? And it was basically like what Heidegger would say about facts don't care about your feelings, and to like disgustingly reduce it down. The basic argument that it makes is that the way you view the world and the emotional and intellectual presumptions with which you operate create a holistic image of the world around you, and that you interpret facts through that lens. And so then there's a lot of, you hear shit that resonates with that lens, and then you just accept it to be true. So that's this question of like why people believe it. So you're totally right. It is jousting at windmills, right? To try to make the claims that there's like a fixable model here because the model itself is the root cause of this behavior. Like, I think that's true. I don't think you can really get away from that. But I do think that there is a real element here. I wish I could cite the essay. If you look up Ben Shapiro Heidegger, you'll find the essay. But like, there's a real element here that matters. That is, why do like James Somerton at least is like stealing from really good books. Do you know what I mean? Like, James Somerton is like,
well, he's like the best case scenario for the bad thing in some ways, because most people aren't going to put in that much effort.
Yeah, and he at least was like, he was stealing from the literature base that you should be reading in order to make those videos. So at least like he's doing that. Illuminati, on the other hand, is just like regurgitating dog water.
Well, yeah, Illuminati is just like a slightly human version of the horrible AI future headed towards
If
Clayton Helm
I
said,
hadn't seen the H-Bomber video on Illuminati and you had told me Illuminati was just copy pasting like literally the exact same thing from a Netflix doc, I would have believed it. That channel was very boring.
There are quotes in the Illuminati video that HBomberguy showcases that we have as like punctuations, like just playing the video in our anti-vax videos.
yeah. Clayton said, would you still make these videos if you're independently wealthy? This goes for everyone. I'll answer really quickly, and then Lux and Henry, you can answer, but be quick. I'll just say that I would still make stuff, but it would be different because I wouldn't be worried about pleasing bosses, advertisers, whatever. So yeah.
Yeah.
100%. I mean, Henry and I together make a shitload of
Yeah.
stuff that isn't Wisecrack, for basically no money all the time. And I would love to. I'll definitely keep doing this kind of stuff also if I were independently wealthy. Because I think it's important to like. I'm lucky, man. I got to grow up reading philosophy from a very young age and being in a setting that made people encourage it, and then getting to go to school for $0 to keep doing it and shit like that. Like, not everyone gets to do that, and so like making it, accessible to other people is, I think, an important task. Like, that's sort of the point of doing it.
Yeah,
That was
this
good.
kind of stuff
guys,
offline.
Yeah. No, I just said quick answers, and now you guys just took over. But go ahead, Henry.
This kind of stuff offline, I'd still engage in as far as like the trading of ideas and like the making of essays. There'd be less of a pressure to like have to do it regularly or in like a way that's seen as work because of the deadlines and the financial incentives. Instead, it's just kind of a passion play at that point.
Yeah, but that is like the joy, and I know that like Lux and Henry are both people that make creative projects that are disconnected from 9 to 5 stuff, and it is nice to have that space in your life to make things where you don't have to worry about bosses, sponsors, companies, money. And I do think sometimes like when people dream about making a lot of money off the thing they love, more and more I would rather make money off something that has nothing to do with what I love, so then I can just facilitate that which I love, disconnected from work or corporations or whatever. But that's just me. But once my 14 dads die, I'm gonna inherit a lot.
Yeah.
So
You'll
that's
inherit
good.
14
Yeah.
14ths of a lot.
Yeah, they're all really they're all wealthy too. Because when my mom invited people to the thing, she checked their financials first.
That was
So
smart.
I do think like, and this is, I'll only say this for me. Thanks, people in the chat. I think that like, wait, what was I gonna say? I'll say this again. I will say, and I want to point inwards a little bit. One thing I have thought about after the controversy this week is like, there's some stuff that I definitely think that we could and should do better. But I say this against the backdrop of, and I've said this a lot, guys, we just don't have a lot of people and we're already overworked. So this is like when we have the capacity to do it. But like people ask basically every video, why aren't there like citations and a bibliography in the description? And like, they are right. We should do that. That would be a nice thing to do and would also help people out because people have been asking before. Yeah, everyone knows my mom's Susan Sarandon. Thank you, Jackson, for reminding them that, but people just aren't referring to lore docs. Also, my mom needs a new agent. So if you know anyone, let me know. But like, it'd be nice if when you watch one of our videos and you're like, not that you're skeptical that we're lying, but you could very easily be like, oh, there's the things they quoted and sourced. And some of them I can just click and see like, I don't know. I think that would be cool. I know something for me that I think about sometimes is our old comrade, Alec Opperman, used to say that what made Wisecrack different is we read more books than everyone else. And I know another thing I think sometimes is like, man, it's so easy sometimes to use Google to get the right quote or the right thing. There's times where I could Google like, oh, Sartre plus colonialism plus blank, and I could find the quote I'm thinking of. But now something I want to do more in 2024 is like get back to reading more like books and trying to get at ideas or things that aren't as, I guess, like level 1 or level 2. But I think that there's a way in which some of what happened this week can, A, keep us more critical of people that are full of shit. B, maybe push people that are kind of full of shit to be less full of shit. And C, push people that aren't full of shit to be even better at not being full of shit.
Yeah,
Will be one of my takeaways.
I kind of strongly agree with that. I would like to do more citation stuff in the descriptions and in the videos too. I mean, we've already talked about implementing some things that we thought of yesterday that we're already working on. Because like this is, I mean, not to get super biographical because whatever, but like this is like literally the reason I didn't go to grad school is that I find the idea of sort of paywalling in-depth philosophical analysis behind like several $100,000 of undergrad and then several $1,000s of grad school to be like morally objectionable. So I didn't do it. And like, not to shit on anyone who has, I think it's a great thing to do, but I was like, I hate this institution as a practice. And so like, I really take that part of what we do kind of seriously. And so the idea of adding things like citations in to the YouTube descriptions, me doing a better job as a director of adding text citations, because sometimes we'll have the book pops up and the author pops up and the quote pops up, but there's maybe not an image that has like the quote with the page number and the book title at the bottom. Trying to clean that stuff up, adding those more specific in the research, stuff like that. That's something that I'd really like to try to get like a little bit better at, because I do think that like part of the value of our channel isn't just like, obviously Burns is amazing. You're amazing at explaining stuff in a fun way that's accessible. You're very fun to watch. Amanda writes incredible scripts. Our researchers do incredible work. Henry's a god tier editor. That's all really fucking rad. I am capable of directing the videos. But like it makes it better to fulfill our mission of letting people do their own work too and find out their own shit in a more effective way the more that we can distribute that kind of shit. And so I feel very strongly that would be a very good idea and something that I think would make our goal beyond, obviously one of our goals is to benefit the economic frameworks of enthusiast gaming to make sure that we all keep our jobs. But another one is to like fucking help people understand stuff. Yeah, we have to please our British bird-looking overlord.
Oh boy, I did not say that. That was I don't even, my audio went out. I don't no way. But so let's do a couple of things, guys. The train's gonna come into the station pretty soon. Two things I want in the chat. One, let us know if there's stuff like we're talking about that you'd like to see. So we're talking about citations, having chapters in videos. If there's stuff that you think about that's not like too hard to do, let us know. And of course, it's What Aria time. So let us know anything you do want to see. Yeah, citations and Patreon. Things you want to see on the videos. And then let us know if anyone has What Aria's things you're watching, reading, listening to, things of that nature. We'd love to hear them. Henry, do you have any What Arias this week?
I'm going to go check out Godzilla -1 before it leaves theaters. I have yet to get around to that.
Oh, hell yeah. That sounds fun.
Let me know when you go.
Well, guys, this isn't your group chat, okay? But tell us your addresses and your phone numbers. You go first. No, Lux, what do you have a What Aria for us?
Yeah, I've been reading a bunch of novels about churches lately.
That's fun.
I just finished Jason Kirk's Hell is the World Without You. It's fucking fantastic. If you can get it, go do it. I just started Kelsey McKinney's God Spare the Girls. It's amazing. And yeah, I watched Blue Eye Samurai because I love martial arts and I love animation, motion capture stuff, and that was incredible.
Hell yeah. To respond to Ryan's question, there's a potential best of the year stream happening. I'm just waiting to hear back from my best of the year guest from last year. You know who he is.
Guest of the year.
Yeah. So my What Aria will be, I just had it. This season of the Dissect podcast just wrapped up. It was on Radiohead's In Rainbows. It was so good. I like that podcast in general. If you don't know what it is, it goes insanely deep into breaking down an album track by track. And we're talking about like the most recent episode has 15 minutes on a debate between a straight rhythm and a syncopation in a song. And the host brings up like music theory and uses examples. We'll look at the history of Lear, all this sort of stuff, but in a way that's accessible and fun. So even if you're not a Radiohead head, I think you'd still like it. So most recent season of the Dissect podcast on Spotify, who just laid off a bunch of people that work on their podcast. So there you go. Yes, I love In Rainbows too. Okay, guys, I want to see an outpouring of love in the chat before we go for Lux and for Henry. hint in 2024, you might be seeing some more Lux action on the stream. So you didn't hear it from me. You didn't hear it from me. But we're mostly gonna go because I'm so thirsty, and this water's been empty for like 20 minutes, and all the stress of showing Raw Dome dehydrated me. And I'm hoping there's lunch in the office today, and we still got to make a lot more content. And it's just like, what is the point of all of this? Love you guys so much. Thank you for getting to D-Day. Let's do it again soon. Thanks again to Skyler Higley. Thanks to Michael Luxembourg. And of course, thanks to producer Henry. And most importantly, thanks to all of you in the chat. You're the best. We love you. And you know the other shit. Check out the Patreon if you want. Watch the videos. Leave comments. Engage. Do the stuff. And we'll see you next week right here on the next Wisecrack Live. Brought to you by the Dailywire and Babylon Bee.
Thank you for joining us.
Later.